Well, the family of the 20-year-old Sudiksha Konanki, who went missing in the Dominican Republic earlier this month, has formally requested authorities to declare her dead. And according to reports, Konanki's family sent an official letter to the Dominican Republic National Police acknowledging that there is no suspect foul play in her presumed death. Sudiksha Konanki, an Indian citizen and a permanent resident of the United States, was last seen on March 6th at the Rio Republic resort in Punta Cana. Despite extensive search efforts, her body has not been recovered. Well, more than 10 days have gone by and Sudiksha Konanki is still missing with no leads. Dominican authorities believe that Sudiksha drowned. However, her close friend Joshua Ribe was the last person she was seen with, has told the police that he rescued Konanki from drowning before he passed out. As the situation turns murkier, the question that looms large is what exactly is where is Sudiksha Konanki? What is the truth behind her parents' painful decision to request a declaration of death? We talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the show is Ambassador Bhaspati Mukherjee, former diplomat. Professor Madhav Nalapat, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, also joins us on the show. Mr. Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist, with us on the program as well. Professor Nalapat, this is a big concern for any parent, but there is something exclusively odd about this case, where the parents have asked for this particular student to be declared dead. What are your assessments of this case, sir?
Yeah, I'll give you my assessment of the most likely scenario, and I think the parents were informed by the university authorities that this young lady, Miss Konanki, is no more, and the parents have come to, basically they've written that letter in a sense under duress, so that what is left of the young student will be sent back to the United States and possibly to India as well. The reality is that it's a very unsafe location to do a holiday in, especially if you are from India, and then you really don't know what exactly are the local conditions out there. There is an extensive, very powerful narcotics lobby in the Dominican Republic, and Dominican authorities have not been able to stamp it out. My own hypothesis, and I really hope I'm proved to be completely wrong, is that Sudiksha fell into the wrong company, a very charming company, I'm sure, and she agreed to go out with that company, and possibly Joshua was also there. And I think Joshua possibly is inventing a cover story of drowning and his attempt to rescue her, etc., etc. But the reality is, it's very, very likely that he's also covering up his own activity there. Probably, there are a lot of what are called rave parties and so many other things, and Sudiksha may have fallen into the wrong group, and as a consequence, there would have been an effort to assault her, and she would have fought back, and she would have resisted, and she would have fought back. I think that is what led the gangsters to ensure that she is silenced once and for all. So sadly, Vineet, it's a very sad story, and I think parents need to warn their children not to holiday in strange locations, to holiday in safe locations, preferably with friends whom they know well, and don't allow any friend of yours, to even from the university, to introduce you to all kinds of strangers, because if you do, you're throwing yourself open to danger, and these people have no hesitation in doing whatever they need to protect their identities. And I think Joshua also may be in fear of his life, and as a consequence, it is very likely the parents are correctly informed, and therefore they have requested authorities to declare this valiant young lady no more. So I think this is the tragic story of what happened to her. It's not the only case. There are unfortunately other cases, not just of Indian students, but students from across the world. And I think this is a very sad lesson for everybody to understand that not to go to a strange location, even with a close friend, and not to allow that close friend to introduce you to a group of strangers. So Viksha, I'm sure, would have resisted very forcefully, and that's why they took the extreme step. She's obviously displayed great heroism, Vinny, and we have to really, bow our heads in respect to her for that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great points there, sir. Master Mukherjee, what do you make of what's happened over here, and what are the learnings here? Like Professor Nalapat also concluded that, it's important to realize and understand the locations that you holiday in, before you plan them and while you plan them.
I agree with Professor Nalapat that Dominican Republic is the most unsafe venue if you're not familiar with your surroundings, and if you're not a fluent Spanish-speaking person familiar with Central America, Latin America, etc. I had a lot of friends from Dominican Republic when I was in Paris as ambassador, and I remember them telling me that not only is it narcotic mafia, there are many other things going on, and it's considered unsafe even by the locals to go to certain destinations. That being said, I'd like to add, and I'm sure Professor Nalapat would agree with me, that nowadays young people do not take advice from the older generation, particularly if they happen to be parents. So I don't think there is any point in trying to do parenting when the child is grown up, because they would probably then make sure that they would go to that destination and check it out to find out whether what the parents have said is true or not true. I think they have to come to their own decisions, and sometimes those decisions can lead to these very unfortunate ramifications. But I am not at all convinced that the parents have made this request under duress from the university. I think there must be some other reason why they need a death certificate. Is it to get back her belongings? Is it to be able to do her final rites here in India? Could it be some religious reason or a personal reason, etc.? Because from what I read on the net, this guy Joshua has not been cleared. He has not been declared as a murder suspect yet, but he is not being cleared, and he is being regularly called to the police station and being questioned and interrogated. His story that he rescued her and then passed out would appear to indicate that both an entire group was high either on alcohol or on drugs or on both. So going to the beach in such a condition is a ready-made recipe for disaster. On the other hand, the parents say that she was an ambitious student who wished to study medicine. So there are many gaps in this story as to whether she was possibly kidnapped. Maybe she's still alive. She's been taken away by a drug cartel. Maybe she will be used for carrying drugs, because that's how they kidnap innocent girls who are then used as drug carriers, and to dangerous countries which carry the death penalty for carrying narcotics, for example, Singapore, Malaysia, etc., where you are just summarily executed. So in that event, she could still be alive, but in the hands of drug traffickers. So if I was her parent, I would not want her to be declared dead. I would want to go there and cooperate with the authorities and try to ascertain what happened and whether there is even a little bit of hope that she is alive, but in the hands of very nasty drug traffickers who are completely unscrupulous and who operate in that area, that entire region, Dominican Republic and some other islands around it. It's notorious. And if you ask a local, they would tell you that. So I really don't know what possessed her. She's a sensible girl wanting to become a doctor to go to such a dangerous region. But once again, I am very, very pessimistic that young Indian students would listen to what elders or their parents tell them. They have to work these things out for themselves. Beneath.
Gautam, what do you think happened here? Do you have a theory of your own?
Yes, I do. It's only 12 days since she's gone missing, and there is no body. If you drown, unless people go to elaborate lengths of weighing the body down with,
Stones
what
and
they
all.
call the cement jacket, which is unlikely, because here, if they were drunk or high and playing around on the beach, and if you drown, you're found within a day or two maximum. When the tide comes in, there you are. So I would tend to go with Ambassador Mukherjee, that she either voluntarily or was persuaded or was kidnapped, and may surface at some point in time. Rebellious kids, the whole bunch that had gone there knew each other. They may have met some other people. It's not difficult to do that. Most young people do meet people who are locally there and, mingle with them and so on. So I don't see this. I think the police, to say that she drowned without finding a body, are less than diligent in what they're doing, and then asking people for a death certificate is wanting to declaring her dead is wanting to close the file. I think there's more to it than meets the eye. I'm not convinced she's dead at all.
Professor Nalapat, Gautam is absolutely right. It's been 12 days. There is more time given to such disappearances. There is more time given to these investigations. Do you smell a rat in all of this?
Look, Vineet, I hope I'm proved wrong. I hope Gautam and Ambassador are proved to be correct. But I think the chance of that is relatively slim. The reality is that, as has correctly been pointed out, if it were a normal death by drowning, by now the body would have been discovered. But clearly the body is not discovered, in the sense in the water, and it has been disposed of in some other unpleasant way. I mean, she's a prisoner. Well, that's an unfortunate situation, and there's no doubt that she will need to be rescued. But as I said, the university authorities, in my view, would have conveyed this information to her parents, including circumstances, according to them, of how she met her end. So the parents are making that request. I mean, a parent would not want a child to be declared no longer there unless that child is, in the parents' view, absolutely no longer there. Parents are, there's a natural bond with children. And yes, children are rebellious. There's no doubt about it, which is why I'm glad Newsx is playing up this story. And I hope channels across the world pick up the Newsx story and play it, because this is the best way of warning young people to please avoid this kind of situation. As I said, Vineet, I truly wish I am wrong. I truly wish she will come back. I truly wish Gautam and the ambassador are correct. But as I said, I would like to stick to what I believe is the most plausible hypothesis, which is the hypothesis that whoever her friend is, led her into some very undesirable company. And what he has told the authorities is a concocted story for his own security. And obviously it's not been believed yet. But the reason why the parents would have written to the Dominican Republic that we don't suspect any foul play is because that would have been probably a precondition, that letter, for release of the body. And I think that would have been the reason. I've studied many of these situations, and the hapless parents have no alternative but to say, put this kind of letter under duress, under terrible psychological duress, and that is probably what happened. I'm not saying it is what happened. I'm saying probably what happened. So, Vineet, with all due respect, I stick to my stand that the most likely scenario is what I have described, that this young lady fought back, she resisted, and as a consequence, unfortunately, she may no longer be there. Thank you.
Ambassador Mukherjee, concluding thoughts from you, ma'am, and Gautam as well. This is obviously a very difficult situation for the parents. Anything you feel diplomatically India can do to exert pressure on the administration in the Dominican Republic?
We must be already doing it, Vineet. I can't recall now whether we have a resident ambassador or not. I was trying to surf on the net to check. But we would definitely do it, or we would send somebody from one of our consulates in the US to do it. That's not the point. And it could very well be that the authorities in the Dominican Republic are cooperating fully. The fact that they haven't cleared Joshua is itself an indication that they, while not saying there was foul play, they've not ruled out foul play. And the fact that there is no body also goes against the argument that the parents want the body back. That's what I wanted to tell Professor Nadappa, that if there is no body, then what is going to be sent back to the parents are only this poor girl's clothes or books or remains or letters or whatever, her computer, her mobile phone, etc. Because the absence of a body, in fact, is very troubling because of the propensity of these narcotic cartels to kidnap innocent young women, make them into drug addicts over a period of time, 3 months or so, and then use them as carriers of narcotics to dangerous countries which have death penalty for narcotics carriers. Therefore, I am very concerned that she may have fallen into the hands of such a drug cartel, in which case I would say, given the nasty fate of such innocent girls, maybe death is preferable to falling into the hands of such a cartel. But we can't rule it out because, as Gautam said, unless they have disposed of the body in some other extremely nasty manner that I don't want to discuss on television, it is very troubling that the body has not surfaced, which adds suspicion to some kind of foul play, definitely, but perhaps the hope that she is still alive. I think ultimately, since the parents have asked for a death certificate, I think over a period of 2 to 3 weeks, the Dominican authorities would give a death certificate because the parents have asked for it. I don't know whether it was helpful from the perspective of continuing the inquiry for the parents to ask for a death certificate. For that, I don't know the background. I would respect their agony and their grief. There must be some good reason why they ask for the death certificate.
Well, we need just one small point, and that is that this young lady, if she's used as a mule, presumably she'll do so under her own name, and then she can be discovered, or her identity can be discovered through facial and iris recognition. So that's why I quite agree these are very plausible hypotheses that the ambassador and Gautam are saying. But if you're using as a mule, then, there are, nowadays you have biometric and you cannot change the biometrics. So it will be rather difficult to hide if the person is being used under duress as a mule, as what they call a mule. Thank you.
Gautam?
Well, there are varieties of things that could happen, but I'm not convinced she's dead. And I think there is a cover-up, and the police seem to be in a hurry to close the file. And what they're saying doesn't make any sense without proof. And if they, they're not going about it very vigorously because Joshua, if he's the only suspect, because there are 10, 12 of them who went. And they've caught hold of just one person to interrogate who was seen last with her, and then interrogate in the sense that he's called to the station, he's asked a few questions, he's let go of, again he's called. So it's very lackadaisical considering a person has been missing. So I suspect that there is some thing that the police in the area are trying to conceal, which gives me room to hazard a guess that she's alive. And she may be in custody of somebody or other who's quite powerful, and is on payroll terms with the police, which is absolutely necessary if you're going to run any kind of illegal business. Everybody's in cahoots, and so that sort of thing. Now, drug muling is not the only thing you can do with a person, but anything is possible, including a romantic involvement. You cannot rule it out. And to say she's dead just like that is, I think, not giving the whole thing a fair chance.
All right. Appreciate everyone joining us. We've run out of time, but this is obviously a serious matter, and more is to be heard and, in fact, assessed of this tragic situation with this Indian girl. We take a short break. Be right back.